Hey guys, you don't want to take a look at the recall election of California Governor Gavin Newsom. Essentially, Gavin Newsom has been recalled and he will be facing a vote on whether or not he should stay governor later this year. So, for California Governor Gavin Newsom, he will be up for basically a vote of no confidence in 2021, just later this year. The date is still unknown because of all the legal things that the state of California has to get through before the recall election occurs. Just the amount of money that they have to spend on this really is huge. So they do have to get all the logistics and stuff planned out before they actually hold this election. So it will be sometime in 2021, but it's expected to be in October through December, somewhere in that time. It may even be in November, but it will have to be on a Tuesday. So it could just be on election night in America in 2021. That is definitely a possibility, in November, but we'll see what happens to the date. But really, the date does not matter too much. The campaign is really already beginning. We have many, of course, candidates that have declared their candidacy against California Governor Gavin Newsom. If you look at the list so far, probably the biggest name is, of course, Caitlyn Jenner, who, is, of course, Kim Kardashian's dad, and is a transgender. Born as a man and has transitioned into a woman. He was also a former Olympic athlete for the United States, I believe in the 80s and 90s. So Caitlyn Jenner definitely the biggest name on this list. But in terms of politicians, you do have John Cox, who is a businessman in the gubernatorial runner-up in 2018. So of course, John Cox ran against Governor Gavin Newsom in 2018 when Gavin Newsom was only Lieutenant Governor of California under Jerry Brown. But Cox did lose against Gavin Newsom, only won 38% of the vote, but he is still, the Republican that has, the most experience and name recognition out of all of these other candidates, except for Caitlyn Jenner, who of course is more of a celebrity and really not a politician. And, you saw a lot of blowback from just people in general and her family members that don't really want her to run in this election. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think Caitlyn Jenner is going to make it to the end. I think that there's a very high likelihood that she drops out before the election actually occurs, but we'll see what happens. So today I want to take a look at the first polls that have been released for these recall elections later this year. So I want to start off by taking a look at the first poll. So essentially how a recall election works. Let's take a look at the 2003 gubernatorial recall election. So this, of course, was when Gray Davis was recalled and Arnold Schwarzenegger won the election. So Arnold Schwarzenegger became the governor of California after Gray Davis was recalled. So essentially how a recall election works is that there is a ballot, everybody, votes on it. And essentially you can vote yes or no on recalling the governor. Basically, if you vote yes, that means you want the governor out of office. If you vote no, you want the governor, to stay in office. So in 2003, a majority of people voted that they wanted Gray Davis out of office. Gray Davis was, of course, the incumbent who, just a year prior was able to win re-election with 47.3% of the vote. So again, getting the whole recall to actually happen with the petition really is very easy in California. California has a population of 39.51 million, and the amount of people that you need to get a recall is 1.4 million. 1.5 million, 1.495 million people are required to trigger a recall election in California. This recall effort for Gavin Newsom received 1.9 million signatures, and this is actually the sixth time organizers have tried to recall Gavin Newsom. This is the sixth attempt at a recall in California. All five previously failed, but now during the pandemic with people, upset about Gavin Newsom's lockdowns, I think that's definitely helped the effort to recall Gavin Newsom, which is why this one actually has succeeded. So really, this is a partisan thing. They've been trying to recall Gavin Newsom, basically since he was elected. So it's not just because of what Newsom has done during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's really, once he was elected, people have been trying to recall, and that's basically happened for every single governor in California just because of how easy it is to occur. I believe that there has been 11 recalls that have gone onto a ballot, but the only governor to ever actually be recalled was, of course, Gray Davis. So looking at, the ballot here again, basically what happens is that if a majority of people vote to recall, then that governor is out. The governor needs 50% of people to vote no on this recall. So Gray Davis, just straight off the bat was out of the recall. or not out of the recall, but he was just going to be taken out of office. And then afterwards, people vote on who they want to replace. So everybody votes on, if the current governor was to be recalled, who they would want to replace them after. And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger won 48.6%. He does not need 50%. Only the incumbent governor needs 50%. So if Gavin Newsom wants to remain in office, he has to hold 50% of the vote. 50% of voters have to still be backing Governor Gavin Newsom. And if you look at the areas that actually did support the recall in 2003, it was basically all of the Republican areas in the state. So you can see that basically all of the more liberal areas in the state of California all voted no. But California was definitely a very different state in 2003. But looking at this, as you can see, it was the area in San Francisco that was the most against it, Los Angeles as well, but other places like San Diego and the southern part here, as well as most of the Central Valley and the Sierra Nevada areas, they all voted yes on the recall by big margins. So definitely support for the recall was very high in all of the areas that were not near the coast. In the coastal areas, especially San Francisco, people were very against the recall in California, but of course Gray Davis was recalled. Now taking a look at the first poll, so basically Gavin Newsom first has to get past this yes or no vote on whether or not he should be recalled. He needs 50% in that, and as of right now, things are looking, I would say, very okay for Gavin Newsom. There's only one poll where he does have 50% in terms of people who do not want to remove Gavin Newsom. So basically, yes means they want to recall him, no means they do not want to recall him. And so taking a look at these polls here, the first four that we've seen, the first one from Berkeley, 49-36. Basically, this shows that more people do not want to recall, but Gavin Newsom, he needs to be at 50%. He probably will be, because there are undecided voters in this poll, but he needs to be at 50%. He cannot be at 49. Emerson as well, 42-38. You saw one from PPIC at 56-40. Some other polls, 47-36. So, the general trend here is that people do not want to recall Governor Gavin Newsom, but he is not at 50% in more than one poll. The only one he's at is this one where he's at 56-40. So definitely these numbers are not the best for Gavin Newsom, but they should be reassuring. And the chances of Gavin Newsom actually being recalled are not exactly the highest, although there are still 6 months to go until the election most likely, and a lot of things can happen within those couple of months. You can really see a Republican gain traction like Arnold Schwarzenegger did in 2003, and he of course did go on in 2006 to win re-election, and he won 55.9%, and to this day he is the last Republican governor of the state of California. Of course, he left office not so popular anymore, but when he was first elected, it was pretty surprising, and he was pretty popular at the very beginning of his term for the former governor. So definitely Arnold Schwarzenegger really fell off in terms of his popularity, but in the beginning he was really very popular in the state and was able to, for the first time in California, defeat a governor in a recall election. But the thing is that 2003 California is very different from 2021 California. In 2021, the political landscape and makeup of the state of California is completely different than it was in 2003. If you look at the presidential elections, let's see, 2020, Joe Biden won California by 29.3%. Back to 2016, Hillary Clinton actually did better here. She won California by 30.1%. 2012, Barack Obama won it by 23%. 2008, Obama won it by 24%. So, even compared to Obama, California is much better now than it was during the Obama era. You go back 4 years, 2004, this is basically 1 year after the recall election of Gavin Newsom. John Kerry did win California by 9.9%, but Gray Davis really was not too popular of a governor. 2000, you saw that Al Gore won California by 11%. So California in 2003, it was still a Democratic state. There's no doubt about that. It was a Democratic state. 2002, Gray Davis won 47% of the vote. 1998, he won 58% of the vote. It's comparable to Gavin Newsom's margin in 2018. But still, in 2000, California was much less blue than it is now. If you go back another 4 years, 1996, 12%. It hasn't really cracked 15% at this point. If you go back to 1988, California was red. Bush 3.6 against Michael Dukakis in 1988. So definitely, California was a blue state in 2003. But these margins were only likely margins from 7 to 15%. However, nowadays, after 2008, California California became a solid blue state and is right now, I believe, the second most liberal state in the entire country. Biden won California by 29%. He won Massachusetts by 33%, New York by 23%. So California is more blue than New York, and California is right now the second most liberal state in the entire country. So defeating Gavin Newsom really will be very, very difficult. Even though Gavin Newsom is not the most approved of governor in California, he is still not too popular considering how blue it is. But considering, just because of how Democratic California is, he does not really need that many Democrats to approve of him because, the state is just almost completely Democratic. The margin here was over 20% for Gavin Newsom in 2018. John Cox right now is actually polling the best. We'll take a look at the polls for the possible candidates in just a few moments here. But looking at the betting odds for this race, Gavin Newsom has an 88% chance of winning his recall. So December 31st, it's basically implied that the recall will occur before December 31st. It will occur sometime in 2021. So Governor of California on December 31st, Gavin Newsom basically has an 88% chance of surviving this recall. Caitlyn Jenner is in second place with a 7-cent share, and everyone is under her at 2 or 1%. John Cox here with just 1%. And so looking at the chances for Gavin Newsom, it stayed relatively high over the last couple of months. And then, Caitlyn Jenner, of course, her chances have increased by a little bit since she's announced, but really, she has no real actual, her chance is still very, very small. 7 is really, really tiny compared to Gavin Newsom's 88% chance of winning his recall. And so before we go any further, make sure to join my Discord server if you have not. The link to which is at the very top of the description below. We have a pretty cool mock government on there, so make sure to join that if you have not. But taking a look at the latest polls for this race, these are basically the 2018 polls between Newsom and Cox for the governor race in 2018. There has only been one poll, and that is from Survey USA for this recall election that will occur in 2021. So basically, Gavin Newsom is not in this poll. It's basically a poll between the other candidates, basically all Republicans at this point. John Cox leads with 9%. So yes, this is still a very, very low percentage, but it shows that he is the early frontrunner. And for these candidates, many of them are going to drop out before the race happens. It's a waste of money if you're just going to run and you're not even going to go anywhere. And, for these candidates, a good thing for them is that they do not have to win 50% of the vote. Really, all they need is to win a plurality. So whether that be 10%, 30%, 50%, it does not matter. All they have to do is win the most votes. For Gavin Newsom, he has to win 50%. He has to win more votes than everyone else combined. But for these candidates, all they have to do is win 50%. So if this was the results here, John Cox could win with 9% of the vote. That's very unlikely to happen, but John Cox has 9%. This is Rick Grinnell with 5%, Caitlyn Jenner 5%. So Caitlyn Jenner coming in third in this first poll under John Cox, who of course is the most notable politician in this race, who of course ran in 2018, just 3 years ago, and was able to lose by a pretty big margin against Gavin Newsom. If you want a comparison here, 2014, Jerry Brown, he served as governor of California in the 80s, and he came back in 2010 to run for another 2 terms. He won 60% of the vote in 2014. 2010, he won 53%. So definitely, the state, as you can see, is getting bluer and bluer. Gavin Newsom won by an even larger margin. So right now, John Cox does seem to be leading, but his chances of winning this nomination really are very, very small, much smaller than Caitlyn Jenner's, whose is much smaller than Gavin Newsom's, and this really has not changed too much. This, of course, was when Caitlyn Jenner announced her candidacy these couple of days here, and people went crazy over that. But I don't think that any of these people are going to defeat Gavin Newsom. I think that the margin is not going to be the largest. I don't think there's going to be too much enthusiasm, I believe, for Gavin Newsom. He isn't exactly the most popular governor, but people do want him over, some other Republican to run the state. The state is still very, very blue, and the partisanship here really is very high. So for Governor Gavin Newsom, he will probably be able to survive a recall election, unlike Gray Davis, when the state was much less blue than it was now. I think that if the state's demographics were the same as it were in 2003, when, of course, in 2003, when Gray Davis was recalled, I think that definitely a recall attempt at Gavin Newsom could be very successful, considering that we're in the pandemic, and many Republicans are very upset with, his intense lockdowns. But right now, we're in 2021. This is no longer 2003. These candidates really have no chance at actually defeating Gavin Newsom. unless something really major does actually happen. There really is no big Democrat running against him as of right now. So really, there's no Democrat that's actually announced a candidacy at this point against Gavin Newsom, and I think that's definitely good. I think that if someone's going to defeat Gavin Newsom, it's probably going to be a Democrat. I don't expect it to be a Republican, because Gavin Newsom, when the ballot asks for a replacement for the incumbent governor, Gavin Newsom cannot be one of the replacements. So it's just like Gray Davis could not be one of the replacements for himself. It has to be another candidate. So Gavin Newsom cannot be one of the replacements, which means that I think that a Democrat really would have a very good chance at winning this race if they were also in the field. And the Democrats in California, if they had to choose someone that was not Gavin Newsom, it would still probably be a Democrat. So I think that the Republicans really have no chance at winning this. The state is just too blue at this point. Whether or not Gavin Newsom is a good governor or not, it's just too blue for the Republicans to have a really good chance at flipping this. And you can take a look at the betting odds that really does show there. I believe there was one for whether or not Gavin Newsom would actually be recalled successfully, but I believe those markets are gone. It's just the candidates at this point here on Predicted. So but I believe I did just see, so as you can see, will Gavin Newsom be recalled in 2021? It's this market right here. There's a 12-cent share that Gavin Newsom does get recalled, and the chances have been decreasing. At one point it was at 22, but now it is much lower in terms of Newsom's chances of actually losing this recall election. So I think that if he does lose, it will be pretty unprecedented. It has not happened in over a decade, and the last time it happened, California was much more of a purple state than it is right now, and it will be really be very surprising. But the date for the recall is still not set. It will be sometime in November. A lot can definitely change, but as of right now, Gavin Newsom is very likely to survive this recall attempt on his governorship. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to join my Discord server if you have not. The link is at the very top of the description below. We have a pretty cool mock government on there, so make sure to join that if you have not. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Like this video down below if you enjoyed it. Comment down below whether or not you think Gavin Newsom will be recalled in 2021. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.